Peter Sellers, Songs for Swinging Sellers. This is an LP I found in the free bin outside Amersham Music. When I was very young, I was particularly attracted to comedy songs. One of my friends had Perry Como's What Did Della Wear? And in case you don't know, she wore a brand new jersey. But my favourite comedy song was a Peter Sellers B-side called Grandpa's Grave, where he sings about them having moved Grandpa's grave to build a sewer. My parents did not approve of this much played song, and still I think there's a possibility I might learn it. Songs for Swinging Sellers was the follow-up album to his 1958 Best of Sellers. That album includes his best-known recorded comedy sketch, Balham, Gateway to the South. Songs for Swinging Sellers has an iconic cover, which is why it caught my eye. It is on the Parlophone label and it is produced by George Martin. And there is a fake notice about sound reproduction and use of needles, etc., which is just the kind of thing I have seen on a Monty Python LP cover. It is Peter Sellers' usual collection of characters with preposterous names and exaggerated voices. On this album it seems like he has established the template that was followed by numerous TV sketches by the likes of Fry and Laurie, Baddiel and Newman, Mel and Griff and Pete and Dud. The album starts with a parody of swing music. The song was written by George Martin and the first part is sung in the style of Frank Sinatra by Matt Monro, who is credited as Fred Flange. Then Sellers attempts to perform it on a ukulele. Though as a regular open mic performer, I have certainly heard worse ukulele crimes. Then we get a horse trader who has become a Larry Parnes type rock and roll Svengali. Larry Parnes was the manager of acts like Billy Fury and Marty Wilde. This manager is being interviewed by a posh woman who is obviously a stranger to the youth culture of the day. And she also talks to one of his acts, a young man he has named Twit Conway. It is hinted that the manager's intentions towards the young men in his stable may not be totally honourable. Then we have an aristocrat explaining how to deal with the lower orders. There is an awful interviewer who, by not letting his subject speak, managed to imply he is a homosexual and a communist. There is another interviewer struggling to interview an angry and violent Irish playwright. On side 2 we get an interview with a skiffle star who is a thinly disguised Lonnie Donegan. And we get a sketch where a prospective public school boy's parents meet a headmaster who seems to know nothing and misinterprets every question. Then there is a piece written by Irene Handel, where she plays a deluded widow living in Dalston and describing it as the Frinton of E8. She gets seduced by a Frenchman, played by Sellers, doing his Inspector Clouseau routine. He asks her, "Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?" And that surprised me, seeing as it was performed in 1961. Irene Handel was an actress who seemed always to be on film and TV in the 1960s. She often played working class types like cleaning ladies, and she appeared as a cinema usherette in The Great Rock and Roll Swindle. The sketch that is most of its time has an Indian Bernard Shaw fan putting on My Fair Lady and performing an Indian version of Wouldn't It Be Lovely, which must have prepared George Martin for working with the Beatles, especially George Harrison. It is also similar to Peter Sellers' hit Goodness Gracious Me. It ends with an actor auditioning for Richard III and being ignored. And then there is a track called Sellers Sings George Gershwin, which consists entirely of Sellers singing George Gershwin or something like that. It is probably the only joke that has not aged and actually made me laugh. Peter Sellers, Songs for Swinging Sellers.